Pope Francis celebrates Mass in Nairobi. Somalia's foreign affairs minister discusses the Kenya-Somalia relationship as the two countries grapple with the terrorist group Al-Shabaab. And navigate the Pope's historic visit to Kenya with, what else? An app. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. We begin in East Africa, and Pope Francis' first visit to the continent. The pontiff held an open-air mass attended by tens of thousands in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, on Thursday. He urged young people in Africa to build a society that is fairer and more inclusive. The head of the Roman Catholic Church is urging Christians and Muslims to communicate with one another to guard against radicalization and acts of violence in the name of God. Bridging Muslim-Christian rifts is one theme of his first tour of Africa. The Pope will also visit the poor and youth in Kenya Friday before heading to Uganda and Central African Republic. Now, for more on the Pope Francis' full day in Nairobi, Jill Craig, VOA East Africa correspondent, joins me live via Skype. Jill, what a rainy day it was in Nairobi, but it looks like everything went as planned.
Yeah, things went very, very well today, Vincent. And as you mentioned, it was raining quite heavily starting last night. This morning, I would say it kind of maybe slowed down to a drizzle, but a pretty consistent drizzle. And so the ground was muddy. People started coming to the university around 3 a.m. We heard some reports that people actually spent the night outside just to make sure that they would get to see the Pope at Mass the next day. So with all of that, I will say that the Mass went very well. The security forces were quite vigilant, going through bags, making sure everyone was searched. So I would say that overall, it was a very good day. And, you know, when you talk to people at the Mass, they don't complain about the fact they had to get up early. They may mention it, but they don't complain. And they don't complain about the rain or the mud. Basically, they just say, you know, we're so thankful and honored and grateful to be able to see Pope Francis here in Kenya. So I think that sort of trumped any sort of other worldly concerns.
What are some of the things that stood out of his Mass today, his messages?
Sure. Pope Francis's message has basically been one of peace and reconciliation. So, you know, actually, before the Mass started, he had met with interreligious leaders during a meeting. So I think that was probably fresh in his head when he went to the Mass. And so, you know, he urged people, especially young people, to be cognizant of radicalization, for example. And, you know, the fact is that we have one God. And so he basically said, you know, let us make sure that we are, you know, honoring that God together, and that violence has no place in any religion. So he sort of reiterated that. But, you know, at the same time, he also said that Kenyans have the responsibility to not foster arrogance in men, is what he said. He said you have the responsibility not to demean or hurt women, and he said you need to protect the innocent unborn. So he made family values a very big part of his homily today. He also sort of extolled African traditional values, as he said. And he said, you know, Africans are known for being kind to their elderly, being good to their elderly, and also to being kind to children. And he extolled those virtues. And he said, you know, Africans and Kenyans, you need to sort of make sure that you're living by that. And I think that message resonated with a lot of Kenyans afterward, especially when you talk to them and they said, yes, we agree with what the Pope said. And, you know, we're honored that he said that.
And we know that tomorrow, Friday, is his last day in Kenya. What are some of the things planned before he jets out to Kampala?
Sure. Tomorrow morning, he kicks his schedule off with a visit to the Kangemi slum in Nairobi. So this is a place that is very congested. The estimates are it's hard to know for sure, but estimates are that there's about 200,000 people that live there in this congested area. You know, and so poverty is rampant, and it's one of the mini slums in Nairobi. So he's not going there specifically for Kangemi. He's going there as a representative of the slums in Nairobi and just sort of addressing poverty, which has been one of his big tenets of his papacy throughout. So he will be conducting Mass at a local parish in Kangemi. People are very excited. I spoke with one woman today who was unable to take the Eucharist during the Mass today, but she was excited because she said, well, I still get to see him tomorrow in Kangemi in my neighborhood. So I'm very excited about that. So I think that means a lot to people to be able to see the Pope interacting with a population that I think is many times overlooked, especially when dignitaries come into town. Mm-hmm. So that means a lot. And so that will be the first thing. And then he'll go ahead.
Thank you. Well, that's great reporting there, Jill. Thanks a lot. And we look forward to hearing more from you in the coming days. Jill Craig, Voice of America, reporting from Nairobi. Now, from Nairobi, Pope Francis heads to neighboring Uganda, where he is expected to arrive in Kampala late Friday. Uganda has one of the largest Catholic communities in Africa. The highlight, though, of the Pope's visit there will be the 50th anniversary celebrations of the canonization of 22 Ugandan martyrs. Serginho Rusblad reports for VOA from Kampala.
As many as 2 million people are expected here at the Namugongo Shrine Saturday for a Mass with Pope Francis. This is one of Africa's most important Catholic shrines, says Reverend Vincent Lubega. Thousands of pilgrims walk here every June to pay tribute.
So Namugongo is important and the center of all the martyrdom because the head of the group was martyred here.
In 1886, a group of 22 Christian converts were killed by the Bugandan king for their refusal to renounce Christianity. In 1964, Pope John Paul VI canonized the group, and now, half a century later, the leader of the Catholic Church will mark the occasion.
He will come over through that door, kneel here before the relics, and say a prayer in silence.
This is the country's third papal visit. The previous two were in 1969 and 1993. 40% of Ugandans are Catholic, one of the largest communities in Africa.
We are very happy that the Pope is coming. It's a long time since the other Pope was here.
The excitement is palpable.
We are selling T-shirts with the Pope, an emblem, badges, the Vatican flag, the umbrella, all of them, including the photo of the Pope.
The Archbishop of Gulu says the Pope's timing is good, as Uganda heads to what are expected to be particularly contentious elections in early 2016.
Because his coming has rallied us all together, the government, the church, and the population at large.
Also important for Uganda, says the Archbishop, the Pope's concern about global inequality.
What does he normally do? In many other countries, he talks about the rights of the poor. The sick should not be neglected. They should be supported by the governments.
Ugandans eagerly await the Pope's message as they put the finishing touches on the preparations. Serginho Roosplaat for VOA News, Kampala.
Turning now to the Middle East, a U.S. defense official says the Pentagon is monitoring reports that a convoy of humanitarian vehicles was hit in an airstrike Wednesday near Azaz, Syria, just south of the Turkish border. Reports from local media and a monitoring group says 3 people were killed and at least 6 others wounded in the airstrikes on aid trucks near the Bab al-Salam border crossing. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reports that the warplanes bombing in the vicinity of Azaz are believed to be Russian. The reports come a day after a Russian fighter jet was shot down by Turkish planes. Turkey claimed the Russian Su-24 fighter had violated its airspace and ignored numerous warnings. Moscow maintains the plane never strayed from Syrian airspace. Here in the United States, Syrian immigrants are concerned about the negative tide of public opinion, and the politicians want to block a U.S. plan to accept 10,000 Syrian refugees. That it's a hoax, reports. Many Americans are fighting to dispel suspicions linking refugees to terrorists.
Ismail al-Rifa never thought he and his family would call Chicago their home. But when a bomb destroyed their home in Syria, they fled the country.
A missile fell on the 4-story building where our home was. We were at home with the kids and we all hid under the bed.
We escaped at the last minute, and that's when we decided to leave and go to Amman.
After more than 2 years in a camp in Jordan, the family was given clearance to emigrate to the United States. They arrived in Chicago during one of its coldest winters in recorded history, but finally felt safe. Polls taken after the Paris terror attacks showed that most Americans now fear there may be terrorists among Syrian refugees, and they support a move to ban the planned resettlement of 10,000 Syrian refugees in the United States. Syrians who fled the war are protesting the move.
The dictator regimes are the real terrorists. I get very upset when some people are candidates for the U.S. election. They invent anything to use it during the election, anything, and they tarnish our image. And it's not the reality. We're not like this.
U.S. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky joined the refugees in pleading for public understanding and acceptance.
I understand that people are fearful. But I think that we need to understand that of all the refugees that have come here since 9/11, we have not had a single incident of one of those people being a threat to the United States.
Many U.S. organizations condemn attempts to block Syrian refugees or accept only those who are Christian.
The hallmark of the U.S. resettlement program is that we accept the most vulnerable refugees regardless of their nationality or religion, and I think that it should remain that way.
Many ordinary Americans want to welcome the refugees.
A lot of people are calling us. We actually have a hotline at SAG. People calling to say, what can we do? How can we help?
The United States so far has admitted just over 2,000 Syrian refugees out of the nearly 4.3 million who have registered with the United Nations since the Syrian conflict began in 2011. Zlarica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Well, coming up now, Somalia's Foreign Affairs Minister on the fight against Al-Shabaab. Stay with us.
And technology, here's what's new.
What's new? Walking from money, literally. It's a new app called Bitwalking. It installs on your smartphone, and with it, you make money just by walking. Using GPS and complicated algorithms, the Bitwalking app converts kilometers into money. You get $1 virtual for every 8 kilometers walked. This virtual money goes into your Bitwalking account to use for purchases from the app's online marketplace. Japanese investors are the major financial force behind Bitwalking so far, paying most of the $10 million in startup costs. To start, Bitwalking will only be available in 4 places: Japan, Kenya, Malawi, and the United Kingdom. In less developed countries like Malawi, workers in rural areas earn around $45 a month. By tracking their steps, Bitwalking developers say some of these workers could nearly double their income. For VOA's What's New, I'm Todd Grosshans.
Welcome back. The terrorist group Al-Shabaab remains a menace to Somalia despite having lost control of most of their territories to African Union troops in recent years. Now, Al-Shabaab has lately stepped up attacks mostly against soft targets both in Somalia and neighboring Kenya. In his effort to stem the terror menace, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud earlier this year renewed an offer of amnesty to members of Al-Shabaab willing to down their weapons and join the peace and reconciliation building process. Well, in part 2 of my interview with Somalia's Foreign Affairs Minister Abdul Salim Adli Omar, I asked about his country's relationship with Kenya and how successful the amnesty program has been so far.
It is very successful. The amnesty program that has been on and off is a very successful program. Most of the soldiers, foot soldiers, always come back and return. And anybody who denounces violence is welcome back.
Recently, the government expressed kind of views that Kenya should withdraw its forces from Somalia. Why would that be the desire of the Somali government?
What's important here is for all of us to come together and support building Somali National Army. And that's what has started in Juba, and that's the main focus of the Somali government and our partners to come up a way of, after the collapse of the Somali government, rebuilding, restructuring, reuniting the Somali National Army. And I hope they will live one day when we are ready to assume those responsibilities.
But is there a risk that actually Parliament could vote to ask KDF to leave Somalia?
A decision of the Parliament without the signature of the President is binding or not, need to be discussed, but the decision of the Parliament is not something small. And if they can convince people that the withdrawal of KDF will keep Al-Shabaab out, then they have a job to do.
The cooperation with securing the border, the common border there, how challenging has that been, given that at some point Kenya was saying they want to build a wall?
A wall doesn't make sense. I think what we need to have is a managed trade and managed movement of people back and forth. Sugar is coming in from the border, and that impacting the sugar industry of Kenya.
Talk a little bit about the Somali-U.S. relationship. I mean, it's come a long way. 20 years ago, I think embassies were closed on both sides, but now both countries have opened embassies in each other's capital. How is the relationship now?
We are looking forward to a robust relationship with the United States, and the United States needs the long coast of Somalia for strategic purposes. It's available to them. They are helping us rebuild our national army. They have supported us in many different ways, and they are involved in rebuilding the financial parts for the country. We also will request that impress them with the importance of remittance, that the Somali remittances dwarfs the aid that comes from all over the world.
Well, a panel of experts say major reforms of the global health system are needed if the world is to avoid a repeat of the Ebola epidemic that swept across West Africa in 2014 and early 2015. The experts convened by the Harvard Global Health Institute and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine say the slow response cost thousands of lives. Henry Ridgewell has more from London.
More than 11,000 people died as the Ebola virus spread across Liberia, Guinea and Sierra Leone, with minor outbreaks in a handful of other African countries. The investigation into the global response describes immense human suffering, fear and chaos, and criticises a lack of political leadership. Professor Peter Piot was part of the team that discovered the Ebola virus in what was then Zaire in 1976. He chaired the report into the latest outbreak.
We need to support those countries that are the most vulnerable to epidemics to build their capacity so that they can diagnose locally and promptly, and also organize the response through health education and whatever measures have to be put in place.
The report says the biggest single failure was the World Health Organization's delay in sounding the alarm about the outbreak.
We were simply far too slow to respond to this Ebola crisis, and as a result, many people died unnecessarily that could have been prevented. That means a better equipped, a more efficient, and more responsive WHO, World Health Organization, and also a system that brings more accountability.
Since the outbreak, promising vaccines have been developed against Ebola. Piot says thousands of lives could have been saved with earlier investment.
We need a better system to develop new vaccines, new drugs, new diagnostics, where there is no market incentive.
Last month, the 3 worst affected countries celebrated the first week. None of them experienced any new infections. But in recent days, there have been several new cases in Liberia.
We've discovered now, which is something we didn't know, that men can excrete the virus in their seminal fluid for 6-7 months, that there may be persistence of the virus in the body, so all that is very new.
Piot says those new developments make the need for reforms even more urgent to prevent a future pandemic. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. The app that lets you track Pope Francis' visit to Kenya. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Sometimes it seems that the whole world is crazy about Pope Francis. Now, there's no surer sign that the pontiff has reached the pinnacle of popularity in today's world than having an app that tracks his every move. A Kenyan developer has done just that. The app is called Pope Visit KE. Though Find My Pope would have been a catchier choice. Now, the app gives users up-to-date Pope news alerts, allows users to follow along with prayers and register to attend events. The developers, Nairobi Strathmore University, ELAB Africa, added a feature where users can swiftly donate to the Catholic Church. Next up, a new concert hall in the Canadian city of Montreal is setting the standard for architecture that is both eco-friendly and luxurious. Montreal Symphony House and a cluster of stylish and innovative homes are helping to boost the city's reputation as a leader in state-of-the-art sustainable design. Now, the ventilation systems beneath each chair in the concert hall reduce the need to circulate air through the entire space, therefore helping to cut energy costs. The materials used to build the hall are both sustainable and recyclable. Well, and finally, George Clooney, Johnny Depp, and Zac Efron may be moving, rather, among the brightest stars in Hollywood. But in 2015, they also appeared in some of its biggest box office turkeys, according to Forbes magazine. Not even the combination of Clooney and director Brad Pitt could save the futuristic summer offering at Tomorrowland. Johnny Depp, quirky action capper Mort Decor failed to impress at the box office as well. Now, despite an all-star lineup including Bradley Cooper and Emma Stone, the Hawaii-based romantic comedy Aloha was among the year's most publicized misfires. At the top of the turkey pile, Bill Murray's critically panned October comedy Rock the Casbah, which grossed $2.9 million on an estimated $15 million production. And that is what is trending today. Well, now, in September of this year, Burkina Faso was thrown into chaos following a coup attempt that left 14 people dead and hundreds wounded. One of the wounded was Sifiatou Odro Oga, a pregnant woman who miraculously survived with her then unborn baby. Now, despite being struck in the stomach by a stray bullet, the baby was named Boinzi Mwende, or God is above all in the local Mose language. Is more by Bagasi Kaura in this report narrated by Brian Allen.
Safiatou has no doubt in her mind that her daughter, Boinzi Mwende, is a real miracle. On September 18th, as a full-blown coup d'etat was underway, a stray bullet struck her as she sat quietly washing her clothes. She was pregnant with her baby, due any day.
I heard some loud noises and I thought it was just kids playing. Next thing I know, something hit my stomach. I stood up, but nothing fell off my lap. I looked to the ground to check, but I saw nothing there either. So I looked at my stomach and realized that whatever hit me had gone deep into my stomach.
She was immediately transported to a Catholic Church hospital in Ouagadougou, where Dr. Aisha Sana and her medical team took over.
Elle est arrivée, elle n'était pas en travail, elle était consciente.
When she arrived here, she was not in labor and she was also conscious. When we did some exams, we saw that the bullet had crossed through the uterus. Since she was not in labor, we decided to do a C-section to deliver the baby.
Though the bullet had pierced her mother's uterus, the baby survived, despite a scar that shows the bullet had grazed one of her buttocks.
We proceeded to take care of the perforation on the mother's uterus. Once we felt that our intervention was adequate, we checked the baby and we checked for the bullet.
D'autres disaient que la maman est morte, que l'enfant vit et la maman est morte.
Some people were saying that the mother was dead. Others were saying that it was just an internet rumor. So we took these pictures to remember.
After the attempted coup, Amnesty International launched an investigation. One of the researchers says the case of Boinzi Mwende caught his attention.
Do you realize that this is a baby from the repression who is born with a bullet in her buttocks? I mean, the mother could have been a victim as well, you know. Luckily, the baby's head had flipped over during her pregnancy, and so fortunately it survived. It's miraculous.
A miraculous baby who, like many Burkinabés, would probably wish the September coup had never happened. For Bagasi Kora in Ouagadougou, Brian Allen, VOA News.
Well, that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. There are many expressions you could use when you travel.
All over the map.
But is this expression about traveling?
Hey, how was your meeting in New York City?
It was awesome. I met some people in the music industry. I saw an old friend from college, and she has this amazing job. I went shopping. I mean, look at these shoes.
Wait, you're all over the map. Just focus on one thing at a time.
Sorry.
Well, let's start with the most important thing. Let's see those shoes.
To be all over the map means you shift from topic to topic. It means you are disorganized or going in different directions. Jonathan asked Anna about her meeting in New York, but she went from one topic to another. It is hard to follow someone whose thoughts are all over the map. And that's English in a Minute.